So friends, welcome back to the part second of your managerial economics chapter 1. We are going to deal with the role and responsibilities of a managerial economist. What is the role and responsibility? Role in decision taking. So decision taking is a specific role that each managerial economist have to do. The managerial economist is assigned with the task of decision taking and forward planning by processing the information. Just yeah, so now the text is more clear. By processing the information, these two are indeed inseparable functions. A managerial economist with his knowledge of economic theory collects the necessary information. First of all, collection is done of information, process them and uses them to take decision. So that is what a managerial economist generally do. The role of managerial economist is confined to take decisions. So managerial economists have to take decisions. He has to be useful to the management by assisting it in two types of decision, in taking two types of decision. Now what are those two types of decision? First of all, there is specific decision. Second is general decision. Specific decision, general decision. Further, specific divisions are divided into three parts: analytic, advisory and forecasting. General decisions also have forecasting and external. Now let's look what is general decision. What are specific decisions? A managerial economist has to take a deciding role in guiding the management to take three types of specific decisions. That means in a specific field, in a specific type, they have to take decisions which are analytic, advisory and predicting in nature. So these kind of decisions are called as a specific decisions. First of all, analytic decisions. Certain decisions are based on analysis. You can have to analyze certain things and then make a decision. So that kind of decisions are called as analytic decisions. So managerial economist has to make economic analysis of the industry. Analysis has to be done, economic analysis. Second, investment appraisal. Investment has to be appraised and then a decision has to be made whether we have to put money in this project or that project. So investment appraisal. Third one, security management. So security, how it has to be secured. For that we have to analyze the system and then make a decision. Fourth is analysis of environmental factor. What are the environmental factor that is going to make an impact on our business firm. So all these four are analytic decisions. Which are they? First of all, economic analysis, investment appraisal, security management and fourth, analysis of environmental factor. Now these analyses are made by using basic economics. On the base of analytic study, decisions are taken. So these are all our analytic decisions. So based on this analytic decisions, a decision is taken. Second type of specific decision is advisory decisions. That means they have to give certain advice to the firm or the top level managers or the owners or the stakeholders of the company or the firm. Certain decisions of the firm are based on the advice of the managerial economist. A managerial economist is expected to give advice on three things. First of all, advice on production decision, advice on trade, advice on foreign exchange management. So all these three things they have to give advice to the top level management or the stakeholders or the board of directors. They have to give advice. So these kind of decisions are called as advisory decisions. Third is forecasting. Predicting the future is a challenge to any business firm. A managerial economist has to assist the management in predicting the future and also predicting what all things. First of all, demand forecasting. What will be the demand in the coming financial year? In the next year, what will be the demand of the company's products? Second, forecasting the market situation. How will the market respond to our company or to our firm in the coming future? Third is forecasting the price. What will be the price in the next financial year? Next is forecasting the business environment. What kind of business environment are we going to have? What will be the fiscal policy? What will be the government policies? All these things we have to forecast. So for that, the board of directors and the top level managers make use of the managerial economist. So these are the three specific decisions that a managed economist has to make. First of all, analytic decision, advisory decision, and forecasting decision. Now, which all things we are, the subtitles are there, you have studied in the titles itself. Second one, general decisions. The general decisions are to be taken after studying the factors influencing the business. They are broadly divided into two kinds, internal and external. Now, over here we have in the diagram we have forecasting, but it's internal and external. First of all, internal decisions. A managed economist should know the internal factors influencing the decision making process. He has to assist the management in making the following internal decisions. First of all, decisions regarding inventory, production and sales. Decision regarding pricing and profit policies, decision regarding investment. All these are internal things that happens within the company. So based on that, the manager economists have to give their views or their ideas regarding all these things to the top level management or the board of directors. So internal decisions are made based on the analysis given by, general decisions are made based on analysis given by the managerial economist. External decisions. A number of external factors influence the business environment. The firm seeks the guidance of the managerial economist in facing the uncertainties caused by external forces. His advice is sought in the following aspects. First of all, effects of changes in national income on the business. So, effects of changes in national income on the business. So, these are external factors, that is outside factors that make an impact on our business. So these are external factors. What are they? National income, impact of that on the business. Effects of business cycle on the business. We know the cycle. There are 4 stages of cycle. So what is the effect of those business cycle on our business? Effects of changes in the determinants on demand. When the determinants on demand change, what will happen to the product of the firm? Effects of change in input cost on cost of production. So input cost has changed, means the cost of raw materials have changed. How will it change the cost of production? Effects of changes in the market conditions of raw materials and finished products. Raw materials and finished products, how it is going to impact. Yeah. Expansion of the share of the firm in markets. Now how we can expand the share of the firm in the markets. All these things are looked into. Effects of economic policies on the business. Now all these are external factors that makes an impact on the business. So a managerial economists have to give their suggestions and their decisions on this general decision making things, internal and external, to the top level managers. So these were the decision making role in decision taking, specific and general. Specific divided into 3, general is divided into 2, internal and external. Now we are going into the responsibilities of managerial economist. What are the responsibilities? A manager economist is like a captain of a ship caught in hurricane. That means the manager economist, a ship which is caught in hurricane means the ship is in danger. The ship can be drowned at any point of time. So it requires a captain with vision who can guide the ship to its shore. So managerial economists, the role of them in management decision, in the decision making is very important. His responsibilities are as follows. First of all, forecasting the demand. So he has to or she has to forecast the demand. What will be the demand of the company's product in the coming financial year? His primary function is demand forecasting. For demand forecasting, several survey and statistical tools are employed. Now, second one, working out the price strategy. What kind of price strategy should the company follow? Should the company decrease the price? Should the company increase the price? Or should the company go as their competitors? What kind of policy if we take, we will be better positioned? What will be the company's position in the market if the prices are changed? Price determination is another aspect which makes use of the services of the managerial economist by and large. Pricing policy depends upon the competitive strength of the company. Is the company's position better or good in the market? All plays a very important role. Third one, production planning. how much production or in what quantity, how to produce, all these things have to be planned by the managerial economist. The aim of a business firm is making profits. This aim can be realized when the costs are controlled first and reduced next. The firm has to work out the least cost factor combination in order to maximize or optimize its production. This is called production planning, which requires the knowledge of production functions, cost functions, linear programming, and input-output analysis. A managerial economist assists the firms for planning the production with his knowledge in all the above said aspects. So, all the things in production have to be planned by the managerial economist. Next thing, forecasting the supply. That means how much products have to be sent into the market. What is that will depend on the demand also, or they have to increase the supply or they have to decrease the supply in order to maintain profit of the organization. A business firm requires several inputs like the raw materials, power, etc. for production. A company has to forecast the supplies and prices of the inputs it requires, even not only in the products that the firm gives out, but also what all raw materials are required. Its supply also have to be forecasted or analyzed. Whether we'll get the required amount of raw materials, etc. have to be analyzed. Fifth, timely advice. It is very difficult to predict the policies of the government which come on the way of effective functioning of the business firms. Only an experienced manager economist can anticipate the policies of the government in advance. Such an anticipation is very much needed to take anticipatory steps. That means timely advice have to be given by the managerial economist. Next is capital management. Capital management, the business firms usually have to invest huge amounts of capital for a long period. Accumulation of required amount of capital, maintenance and administration of the capital assets require a lot of advice planning. Capital management involves capital budgeting, which ultimately decides the investment criteria. So all this capital, how it has to be managed, have to be decided by whom? The managerial economist. 7. Avoiding the risk. Business is always full of risk and uncertainties. A managerial economist can very well make an analytic study of these risks and uncertainties and suggest remedies to avoid or lessen them. He or she has to see into the future and say that such and such a risk is going to come, such and such uncertainty is going to come, and take steps in such a way that such kind of risks are avoided. Profit planning. Prime objective of business firm is maximizing the profit. Profit is a center around which the entire business world revolves. A managerial economist, by analyzing cost, demand and supply factors, can assist the business firm in profit planning. 9. Decision making. The success of any business concern depends upon its ability in taking appropriate decisions. Any decisions of the firm has a long run effect. Hence, the very survival of the business concern depends upon its decisions. Deep analytic thinking, far-sightedness and ability to forecast the future are the essential qualities to be possessed by any decision maker. All these qualities can be seen in a managerial economist, who with all these abilities can guide the concern to a glorious, prosperous future. So, all the decision making happens in and through the managerial economist. So, these are the 9 responsibilities of managerial economist. So, we studied 2 things. First of all, we looked into the role in decision making, and secondly the responsibilities, the role and responsibilities of a managerial economist. Next is production function. Now, this is an important topic. Production is the creation of goods and services by organizing land, labor and capital. Now, what is production? We all know. The aim of production is the supply of goods and services for consumption. Production is the act of creating utility or value. This I have told you in my previous semester's economics class. So, how is production an act of creating utility or value? Production is defined as a process of transforming inputs into outputs. What is production? Transforming the inputs into outputs. There are 3 dimensions in the transformation of inputs into outputs. First of all, creation of form utility by changing the shape. One is by transforming the shape, that is form utility. Second is creation of place utility by transporting from one place to another. Third is time utility by creating timely requirements. This also we had studied under the title utility in the previous economics class. Yeah. What is production function? Production function analyzes the physical or technological relationship between inputs and outputs. It is a relation between inputs and outputs. A production function tries to find out ultimately the maximum output which can be achieved with a given set of resources or inputs, and with a given set of technology. What is a maximum output that can be produced? Laws of production are explained in connection with production function. A production function explains the functional relationship between factors of production and the quantity of goods produced. So, it is a relationship between what all factors of production are. That means land, labor, capital, entrepreneurs are factors of production, and on the other side how much quantity of goods are produced. So, production function specifies a flow of output resulting from a flow of inputs during a specified period of time. So, this is production function, and you have the definition by many people. You can just go through if it is necessary. Directly the question will not be asked to write definitions. Yeah. So, simple production function. Algebraically, production function can be expressed as in an equation in which the inputs are independent and the outputs are dependent variable. Inputs are automatically independent, and outputs are dependent. Now, the common equation for production function is Q. Q is a quantity produced. It is a function of L, N, K. So, as I told you, the determinants, the Q is a quantity, total quantity, means 50 biscuits are produced. That is the quantity is equal to, it's a function of how much labor is required, how much capital is required, all these things together to make 50 biscuits. That comes on the right hand side. L represents land, N represents labors, K represents the capital employed. So, that is a simple formula. A more complex production function can be shown as follows. Q is equal to function of A, B, C, D, N and T dash. That means Q refers to production, A, B, C, D represent quantities of different inputs per unit, and T denotes the state of technology. What is the technology being used? So, the technology is remaining constant. Because of that, we put a dash or a bar above the T. So, this is a simple and the complex equation of production function. Now, nature and assumptions. What are the nature and assumptions? What is the nature of production function? It represents a technical relationship between inputs and the outputs. So, first nature is it's a technical relationship. Second, since output is an outcome of combined effort of 4 factors, as we know, land, labor, capital and the entrepreneur, the physical productivity of one factor cannot be separately measured. That means the physical productivity of land cannot be measured alone. So, land's productivity is measured by the laborers also who are working over that. So, we cannot take, okay, capital's productivity is this much. We cannot tell like that. It's always in combination. The state of technical knowledge decides the nature of various factors and the manner of their combination. Now, what technology we have, based on that, how much input is required is decided. If we have a very good technology, the number of laborers required will be less and skilled, those who can work with the technology. So, like that it will change. So, the land, even the land required would be less if machines are used for production. So, what kind of technology we are using determines the number of units of factors being used. The fourth point, the nature of production function is also decided by the variability of factors and their divisibility and indivisibility, whether they are variable, that means labor, number of laborers keep on changing or what, whether they can be divided or not divided. Machines cannot be divided, but laborers can be divided. Machines cannot be variable, but this can be variable. So, all these things determines the nature of the production function. But the production functions are based on 4 basic assumptions. Production function is related to a particular unit of time. So, production function is always in connection to a particular unit of time. Time is required. Technical knowledge during that period is constant. Technical knowledge in that period is kept constant. Factors of production are divisible into most viable units, and the producer uses the best available technique. The best available technique is used by the producer. So that is about the production function. Schedule. Production function can be explained with the help of table 1.1. So this is the production function. In this we are taking two inputs, labor and capital. So when one capital and one labor is used, we have 6 output coming out. So when two labors and two capital and one labor is used, we have 7. So when 3 capital and 3 labor is used, we have 18. In the same way, number goes on. So along the left hand side, 1 units to 10 units of labors are taken. Amount of capital from 1 to 10 is taken on the top right hand side. If we call cells the intersection of the columns and rows, we have the combination of labor and capital. So as we came to know, we can analyze the output based on the number of capital and the number of labor used. Now attributes of the production function, and they have 6 characteristics. First of all, it's a flow concept. That means it's in a period of time, not at a particular point of time. The production function is a flow concept, as it is related to the flow of inputs and the resultant flow of output during a period of time. So since it's in a period of time, that means from January to December, a period, not on the 1st of January how much production function. No, it's not like that. It's from January to December. It's in a flow or a period of time. It is expressed in physical terms. The production function is purely a physical concept. It is not expressed in monetary terms such as pounds, sterling, yen, or it is a technical relation between input and output in physical. That means in numbers it is shown, not in terms of money. That means 10 outputs, 20 biscuits or 50 biscuits, not the money. Okay. Third, it depends on the state of technology. Of course, the technology used is very important factor in knowing the production function. Technology refers to the knowledge of the society concerning to the art of production, how a production can be bettered. That is technology. So the better you know about the technology, the changes happens in the factors of production. It also depends on the state of inputs. So what all inputs you have also plays a very important role in determining the production function. Production function shows the physical relation between inputs and outputs. Inputs include everything used in the production: land, labor, capital, time, skill, technology, etc. are inputs. Usually the set of inputs used in production function has 3 characteristics. First of all, they are usually complementary in nature. They are dependent on one another. Some inputs are substitutes. They can be used instead of the other. Some inputs are specific. Such inputs lack substitutable. Instead of them, nothing can be used. Fifth one, it aims at attaining maximum output. The production function aims at attaining the maximum output with the available inputs. Though the production function shows a technical relation between input and outputs, it also implies a rational behavior of the business firm. Any rational firm aims to maximize the output with least cost combination of inputs. It considers the time period. The production function always considers the time period. As I told you, it's a flow concept. So it takes into time, short run or the long run. Short run means in the short period of time, long run means in the long period of time. So these are the 6 characteristic features of production, attributes of or characteristics of production function. Now, managerial uses of production. Now, what are the uses of production functions? First of all, to determine least cost factor combination. So by using the production function, we can know that, okay, how much least cost, that means to minimizing the cost to the minimum possible. We can reduce the cost and use the combination to put maximum output. So determining the least cost factor combination. If 50 biscuits can be made with 1 labor and 1 capital, that is a least cost factor combination. So how much less money can be put in or cost can be put in for purchasing the factors, that is important. Least cost factor combination. Second, to determine optimum level of output. So what is the best output that can be produced using the available inputs, that is optimal level of output. Third, to plan the production. With the user, you can even plan the production, or how much production we have to make, output, how much it can be created, can be used. So these are the 3 uses of production function. Now, limitations of production function. First of all, rates of changes are ignored. The ratio of inputs and time usually change during the process of production, because during a period of time it will not be the same. So this rate of change is ignored. short run in nature. Generally production functions are short run in nature, it cannot be taken for a longer term. Neglects lags and integrals. The production function usually does not consider their own lag. Lag means a gap created. Because if today two laborers are tomorrow two laborers may not be there, lag might be created. So these lags and integrals are not considered. Integrals, that means we may not be able to produce 20, we might be able to produce 19 and a half output, but this half is not considered. Neglects output of distant future. So output which will be the output in next 5 years or 3 years is neglected. Unrealistic assumptions. The assumptions taken are very much unrealistic. Complicated problems. According to its normal definition, a production function assumes a physical maximization of output from a given set of inputs. Such a production function is not of much help in the analysis of highly complicated managerial problems. So it cannot be completely used to solve all the problems of managerial economist. So that is how that is what the role of production function is. In the next class we will be dealing with the law of variable proportion. Thank you.